This is the second in our 3-video sequence about teamwork. The first was about the nature of teamwork, what goes on psychologically, interpersonally, and neurologically when a person is a member of an effective team. This video is about recruitment. How can you recruit individuals who will contribute to effectiveness of the team? And the third one will be about leadership. So the question of recruiting for teamwork, we're going to be looking at 3 characteristics of human psychology. The first is cognitive ability. And the question is, can smarter people be seen as being more likely to be effective team players? And the answer is, in general, there are 3 levels or 3 types of cognitive ability which seem to be very relevant to work in the modern world. The first is verbal reasoning, which is the capacity to use words. People with high verbal reasoning tend to be better communicators. Then there's numerical reasoning, the ability to work with numbers and to understand numbers. And the third is abstract reasoning. Now, verbal, well, in fact, most jobs require communication, so it's not surprising that this has been shown to be a very general requirement in all sorts of jobs across all sorts of different parts of the economy. Numerical, well, it varies. There are some jobs where you need to be good at numbers and some jobs where it absolutely doesn't matter. And abstract reasoning is the capacity to understand the links between things and also to forecast what's likely to happen given certain circumstances. So abstract reasoning is an incredibly powerful form of cognitive ability. When people are good at abstract reasoning, they're likely to see the implications of what they do, and they're also a bit more likely to see ahead of the game. So there are 3 characteristics of cognitive ability. Anytime you get a team of people together, you will end up with what's called emergent leadership behaviours. And emergent leadership behaviours are leadership behaviours which simply present themselves in the presence of other people seeking to achieve some kind of an outcome. Leaders emerge. This is the natural thing for human beings and other primates as well, other animals more generally. So when people are smarter, you tend to get higher levels of emergent leadership behaviours. And one of the things that we certainly see is that people in general prefer to report to or be led by somebody who they think is smarter than they are. I mean, after all, why would you want to be led by somebody who is less intelligent than you are? It's also been demonstrated that flexibility and adaptiveness is higher in people with higher levels of cognitive ability. So if you recruit a team of people who are really smart, the probability of them being able to demonstrate a repertoire of responses to whatever happens to them, it's much more likely to be higher because flexibility and adaptiveness is driven partially by how smart people are. Also, cognitive ability is highly correlated with job performance. When people are smart, they tend to understand their work better, they tend to do it quicker, they tend to solve problems more quickly, and they also tend to be able to learn more quickly than people with lower cognitive ability. So if you want a really effective team, it's a good idea to make that a team of smart individuals. So let's talk about personality. And if you want to create effective teams, it's a good idea to recruit people with certain personality profiles. Conscientiousness can be measured at a team level, but also at an individual level. Conscientiousness is the degree to which individuals and teams are committed to what they do, are well planned, are well structured, and they're thoughtful rather than impulsive about the way that they go about things. Now, if you recruit individuals who are highly conscientious and put them together in a team, you are going to find that they are likely to be conscientious as a team as well. Secondly, there's a thing called team agreeableness. And again, this correlates with individual agreeableness. Team agreeableness is the degree to which people are approachable, easy to get along with, and not cranky or difficult. And if you recruit people who are of this very nature, then that's likely to contribute to them being that way as a group. If you bring a bunch of agreeable people together, they're likely to get on with each other. Extroversion. I'm an introvert, so I don't particularly like giving herograms to extroversion, but it is shown that people who are extroverts tend to create a more vibrant team atmosphere than introverts. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't have introverts, but a number of studies have been shown, Bell's in particular, that highly extroverted individuals didn't seem to need introverts to balance them out to have high levels of team effectiveness. But if you want intellectual diversity, it's a good idea to mix some introverts in there. Team emotional stability. Emotional stability is the degree to which individuals are resilient. In effect, they're people who can commit to a particular goal and not get upset about things when things go wrong. So emotional stability can be important for team effectiveness. You see in the Bell study, this was a small to medium effect, not as strong as conscientiousness, agreeableness, or extroversion. But given that you've got those three characteristics, it's not a bad idea to have people being emotionally stable as well. And that means that if you've got a combination of conscientiousness and emotional stability, those are the two psychological characteristics at a personality level that tend to contribute to the thing that everybody wants, and that's resilience. And finally, openness to experience. Openness to experience is having high enough levels of open-mindedness to consider new solutions. When people are low in openness to experience, what that means is they tend to want to keep doing the things that they've always done. So teamwork can be helped if you have individuals who are broad-minded, who come together to form a team, which is also broad-minded. Now, of course, the core psychological characteristics of these individuals is not the only thing that demonstrates or causes openness to experience at the team level. Leadership will do this, but it's not a bad head start to recruit people who are like this. Just going back to cognitive ability for a moment, one of the things that I also should say is that cognitive ability is extremely heavily genetically determined, tends not to change much in the course of a person's life. Some people will say as high as 80% genetically determined. Personality, you'll get people saying it's between 50 and 70% genetically determined. I'm personally more at the 70 level than at the 50 level, but it doesn't matter. Most psychologists agree that there's a strong genetic component to personality. So the reason that I say this is that if you recruited people who are naturally agreeable and smart, for instance, they're likely to be that at the 10th year of their employment as they were at the first year of their employment. So here's a more contemporary perspective on personality. This is a Hexaco model of personality, and this is a thing that we call the SACS 6. This is an instrument that has been validated against 6-factor or Hexaco models of personality. And so we see emotionality, we mentioned that, extroversion. Agreeableness, we're calling absence of anger here, because in the Hexaco model, agreeableness means not angry. Conscientiousness and openness to experience. But there's an additional component which was discovered by Kibiam Lee and Mike Ashton in the last 15 years, let's say, which has been found to be a very important contributor to our understanding of personality. And it's a thing called integrity modesty. And that's the degree to which people are honest, truthful, and not arrogant. And this, I believe, is an important characteristic for teams, because if you've got a team full of honest people who are non-manipulative and who will tend to tell the truth and don't individually arrogate their importance above the importance of the team, then I think you're in a position where you're going to have a more cohesive team. Certainly, this characteristic here was called by Kibiam Lee and Mike Ashton honesty, humility. That can be shown to be a predictor of things like bullying, harassment, and even going to jail. Low scores on integrity modesty signal that people are likely to go to jail more often than people with high scores. So personality has an impact on team effectiveness. Then there's values. Now, values have been studied across the world, and this is an instrument called the SACS Work Value Scale. It's validated against the Schwartz model of values, which is probably one of the most researched models of values in the world. But there are certain things that we know about values. Thing number one is that when we have a certain value set, we fit into a group of people more effectively if our values match their values. Now, some of the values that you see on the screen that I'm just about to show you are not the sort of things that you find on people's value statements in organisations. And the reason is that what people call values in organisations are not always empirically measured values. So just to turn our attention to some of these values, things like autonomy, the degree to which I feel it's important to have the right to say what goes on in my work life. Variety, the degree to which I feel that it's important to have a variety of tasks and stimulation in what I do. This is about my commitment to social justice, the degree to which I'm somebody who cares about things being fair. Environmental sustainability. So you can imagine if I work with an organisation that has high levels of commitment to environmental sustainability, then I'm likely to fit in as a good team member. If on the other hand, let's say I am extremely committed to autonomy, as this individual was, 99th percentile is about as high as you can get, but really the organisation is very top-down in its leadership style, which implies that people who are happy here are people who are practically, they're comfortable to accept orders. Well, clearly I'm not a values match, and that will make it less likely that I'll be an effective team member. It'll make it more likely that I won't be happy in that team, but also that other people won't be so happy with me. Video 3 in this sequence of videos will be about leading for effective teamwork. So join us to see how we suggest that leadership can contribute to effective teamwork.